This podcast contains adult language, descriptions of violence, sexual references, and other possibly offensive themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to this episode of Back to the Story, where friends come together to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be your DM, Klouse. Let's get started.
If anyone can talk a Balgarth out of a fight, it's you.
If anyone can keep us alive, it's you.
But if you ask me what my calling would be, I'd say that of a defender of my friends.
You don't need to change anything.
I would give my life to see them through.
I finally only get into trouble when I'm around you lot.
I never want to have that kind of power over somebody.
She lands upon the deck, but just on her toes, like a dancer, like a ballet dancer, as if the weight of sin has yet to fall on her shoulders.
And the light of nature will be brought to them.
We haven't done this before. Does that make us professional?
That would make you amateurs at best.
At best, I like that.
I've had a hard time finding answers in my life.
I'm glad I'm here too.
Where are you from, Ezekiel?
Wherever your wife goes when she dreams, and I'll walk away.
Fuck you and fuck your will.
There's no redemption for the likes of you.
You were never loved as a child.
How do you want to do this?
Date is how do I spell is wrong! Exclamation point. So are you guys ready to play this game?
Why not?
Alright, so previously, while recovering from the encounter with the Umber Witch, Ezekiel found a glass sphere with a gemstone lens resembling an eye, ever watching. Discovering this to be a witch eye, Kalvyn stomped on it, smashing it into fine pieces in the sand. After Ball's firestorm dissipated, steaming the ocean water, some discussed Ball's feelings between Ayinell and his fire giant heritage. Before being felled, the Umber Witch ran towards a stump, which was found to have a ladder into dark waters. Ezekiel, in the form of a tentacled creature, scouted ahead, swimming for nearly 10 minutes down the northwest, until finding surface, a bit of light, and loud stomping above. Coming back, and after discussing, it was found the Ball was far too large to make it through the tunnel, and so Ezekiel led the bronze scales north along the coast until finding an old sandstone crypt, clearly of Verdana make with its swirling inscriptions. Picking through the lock, Ellory and Amsen scouted ahead, hearing a strange language being spoken to something very large, clanking with chains. The bronze scales moved in, announcing themselves, hearing a great weight behind, the curtain being dragged along the ground. Moving into the room beyond, it was revealed what groaned and stomped. And leaping into yet another fight, the bronze scales were set on upon by skeletal goblins with unsettling smiles and a massive golem of stitched muscle and flesh, who shook the crypt, smashing fists and swinging iron chains. You all set to work, with Kalvyn taking the brunt of the beating. Moments dragged on for what felt like minutes, yet in desperation and resolve, Kalvyn drew upon something within, erupting in a flurry of precise divine strikes, leaving the flesh golem dead, finally. In shock, a wide-faced witch appeared, slinging spells before disappearing. Quickly searching around, Ball and Kalvyn moved a massive stone to reveal a hallway. Beyond, you move forward, entering a room as two witches, laid as if to sleep, disappeared through a portal to somewhere nightmarish beyond. Destroying the blood glyphs, you search the crypt, finding ancient treasures and the warding traps which guarded them. Returning south, down the coast, the brown scales made their way back to the bloody sands of the Daydream Bask. We come back to the story here. You all have just searched the Amber Witch's tent, finding mostly wine among other things. It is only mid-afternoon, yet the day has been hard as you take in the warm salt air and gloomy skies above. The nearby tent calls you to rest as the distantly forming dark clouds to the north foreshadow your pilgrimage beyond to the holy city of Nymunet. What would you like to do?
Maybe we should head back to Haamel. Make sure Orzana's fine, make sure they're fine.
Yeah, it'll take a couple days, so we should try and make it as far as we can.
Seems like a shame to leave all this wine behind.
It's probably cursed wine.
We could test it.
I don't have any spells right now, so I don't know how helpful I can be if somebody else tests it.
We could take it with us and test it tomorrow?
Sure.
Except I don't think we can lug all these barrels along with us.
Unfortunately, no, I don't think so.
Why don't we leave it for some other lucky or unlucky sons of bitches who are coming along the coast? I'm kind of happy to not have these be our problem. Especially if it is just wine.
Do we want to take this tent with us? It looks like it could fit most of us if we hit a patch of bad weather.
If you'd like, wouldn't mind having one just in the future. Minorly creepy that was stealing a dead... What was that?
Good question.
Well, let's gather it up and get on the road. We don't have much daylight left, and we should, I don't know, in case they come back, I'd rather be far from this beach.
Yeah, definitely don't want to stay here too much longer.
So we pack up the tent and we leave.
Okay. Skype dropped for me a bit, so I didn't get everything.
Well, before we pack up the tent, I think we'll say, do we want to see if they come back? Maybe find those sisters that we weren't able to catch.
To be honest, Ball, I don't think I could take them right now.
I don't think most of us are in a state where we could handle them if they do come back.
I meant that we could camp nearby. Deal with it tomorrow, if the opportunity presents itself.
Well, if most of us need a rest anyway, well, take one. And then if something shows up tomorrow, well, there you go.
As you said, Ezekiel, there's not much daylight left.
I'm just worried about Orzana. She's waiting for us, and...
She knew it was going to be a couple days to the beach.
Yeah, I'm not so much worried about her getting worried about us, but what if what we did here makes that town less safe?
I am a little concerned about that.
I think we should get back and see what things are like there.
From what it looked like, I don't know that those hags are going to be coming back anytime soon. At least not with that army. Or something else, like that big thing.
But if they do come back, then won't they pose just as much a problem as the first one? Or whatever else we dealt with? Wouldn't it kind of defeat the purpose?
Maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. Kalvyn, I'm really tired.
That's what I'm saying. Why don't we just rest the night and reevaluate in the morning when we're all thinking and stuff?
I agree. We don't have to rest in these tents, but we can rest nearby. Keep an eye out. Perhaps we could decide tomorrow to use the flower as a way to attract them.
At dawn we plan?
Alright, well, can we at least get into the tree line? I don't want to be on the beach.
Yeah, let's get away from the coast a bit.
Okay, so you're able to take whatever you want from the tent that you can haul. If you're trying to haul a bunch of those barrels, you're going to have to figure that out. The other stuff you can pretty easily pick up. But you grab whatever you want and move into the tree line. There's not a whole lot of trees this close to the coastline, so you have to go in a little while. Maybe half a mile before you have enough tree coverage to really feel comfortable. But you do so and find a place to camp that is dry above the waterline and above the marsh and begin to set up camp. There's a few hours left in the day. You'll just kind of rest and then get into the night.
Yeah, I'm going to spend a little bit of time after we've set up camp practicing with the bone shiv. At first, just like figuring out what spot works best to store it in, and then just getting used to it so that if I need it in a hurry, I won't hesitate.
Okay. So it's painful doing so, and you find out that you need a hand to be able to withdraw it. Either pulling it from your leg or arm or wherever, you need a hand to be able to withdraw it. You can force it out if it's in your forearm. You can kind of will it to come out of your own hand, but you can't will it to come directly out of your leg or anywhere else without a hand nearby. So you have to have hands free to be able to use it for the most part.
Okay.
But you practice with that. It sucks each time going in and going out, but no blood drops. Anyone else, as y'all kind of set up camp, begin to rest? Okay. So you guys rest. A few hours go by as the sun begins to set. You hear the insects buzzing in the air. A few of them begin to bother you. You try to use smoke, get rid of them as best you can. And the night falls. The night goes on. You take your watches. Nothing seems to jump out at you. Nothing attacks. You just hear the buzzing of insects. Every now and then you hear a bird in the distance. And then the next morning, the sun rises. What do? You can see, as the sun does rise, you can see the sky above is dark. You can see clouds forming overhead, rolling over the sky from the north. You can see a storm is clearly approaching, though you're not sure when.
Might be a good thing that we decided to take that tent.
Yep.
Did y'all take any barrels?
No.
Okay, so Ball can carry the tent. It's pretty heavy, but rolled up. He or Kalvyn, actually, either one could carry it.
Ball's happy to carry it if it's kind of bulky.
Alright, so we've had a rest and everyone's feeling better. We can do a pass over by the tomb again, see if anything seems out of place, but I don't quite know how to find them after they went through that portal.
I think if they're still gone, we let it be. Make use of the day and go back to Haamel.
Yeah, unless there's obvious signs of them being there, we should probably move on.
Yeah, just a quick check, and then we'll move on.
So you guys head back to the crypt?
Yeah, just to do a quick check.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys make your way there over the next couple minutes. Enter in. You can smell the flesh beginning to rot now. Entering in, creaking through the doorway over the burnt canvas sail that was using to guard the room. Nothing seems to have shifted. The boulder is still where y'all left it, moved. Entering into that last room, you don't see any new glyphs. Everything's as you left it, whether you left it open or closed.
Well, for now it seems they've gotten away. Though I have a feeling it's not done entirely. After Indigo and what happened there, I'm sure some of this will come up again.
If anything, we didn't really make any friends here. So, just as a rule for the group, if anyone has strange dreams about beautiful people trying to get you to do things, just tell everybody else right away.
Unless it's, gross, then you don't actually have to share all the details, but...
Well, yeah, you don't need to get into too many
looks away.
I'm happy to share my dreams anytime.
That's okay.
Some of the people in this group have delicate sensibilities.
Not okay.
Let's just get back to Haamel.
Oh, before we go too far, I would ask Meli to, because she sent a message to Amsen to let us know that she was on her way, I'm going to ask if she can do the same to Orizana, and I will feed her the words in Elvish to let Orizana know that we're on our way back.
Okay. Yeah, she'll do so, and she'll just repeat the exact words you say. She tries to repeat something back to you as Orizana responds. Something, I'm here, Clyde, funeral. Her Elvish isn't perfect, but you get those words.
Okay, I will translate that to the rest of the group. Something about a funeral and Clyde. I'm not sure if she meant it's that Clyde died and it was his funeral or what. But I think we'd better make our way pretty quickly.
Well, let's push on ahead.
Okay. So you guys push on ahead. Another 3 days go by. Are you going at just the normal pace?
I would think we would hurry, but maybe go at least one of the nights. At least that would be my suggestion.
How many nights of a walk is it?
It's 3 days at a normal pace. If you go fast, you can cut it down to 2. You can also go slow and cut it down to 4 days. Or extend it to 4 days. If you go slow, you're harder to detect. You can find things easier. If you go fast, you're kind of being loud.
I say make a quick pace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that what y'all do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Be affirmative.
Confirming that pace. Y'all do indeed go quickly. You don't spend time trying to be quiet. You just rush through, jumping into some of the creeks and just swimming loudly across. You don't worry too much about it. Light jog here and there when the terrain allows it. You'll notice the insects each night, the birds. You know something larger, maybe jumping through the trees as if it was a squirrel, but much larger. On one of the nights trying to investigate, you don't get a good glimpse of it. You do notice it is larger than a squirrel would be, but is yet hopping through the trees. But after 2 nights, you arrive in Haamel. You can see the outskirts in the fairly early morning before noon as the farmers are farming, tilling land, harvesting, pruning their plants.
We try and find Orzana.
Yeah, you find her to the north of town. She's sitting, leaning against a tree, eating an apple with Roz. She kind of stands up, smiles.
Hey, is everything good here?
Yes, it is good.
I could only catch part of your message, your response to us.
Clyde, the man we stay in his barn, he was killed. They had the funeral for him a few days ago.
Killed?
By the dogs. The fox dogs.
Ah.
They have sent hunters to try and find it, but none have come back with it.
So I definitely translate that to the rest of the group.
Just share a look with Vesper.
Yep. Just looking at Ezekiel like, oh shit.
Has there been any kind of trouble?
Besides that, no, they had a funeral. They buried him under the tree. She points towards his farm, where that apple tree where he was hanging out, where he spent most of his time. They buried him there. But other than that, no, it's been quiet.
Perhaps we should go over there at some point soon and pay our respects and maybe see if there's anything else around there.
Yeah, and I was hoping that we could show this sketch around that I made of the bloom heart on the beach. See if anybody knows who this is.
2 birds, 1 stone. Let's head back into the village.
Okay. So do you go towards the apple tree or somewhere else?
I think start with the apple tree.
Sure. So you go to the Fox Farms, to the apple tree that's sort of just to the edge, kind of between the farm area and the farmhouse and barn. Fairly large tree. You see a few flowers placed at the base of it. You can clearly see some disturbed ground where something was buried. Otherwise, no stone marker or anything like that, but you do see an inscription carved into the tree. It reads Clyde Fox, and beneath it, in quotations, welcome friends. You notice a few of the farmers kind of notice you moving over to it, but once they recognize you, they don't stop you or anything like that.
Well, I don't think any of our suspicions about Clyde were particularly on the mark, then.
Why would Indigo want him dead?
Well, he said to us that we freed him. Maybe he was being kept against his will.
Simple revenge.
Maybe it has something to do with our actions from a couple of days ago and who we put down.
They did mention someone in town working with them. Don't know if it was Clyde or Indigo.
Before we leave to head on to the next town, we should take a look at the pillar. Maybe see if we can do something about it in case one of the other sisters, or whatever they are, decides that they want to keep using it.
I have something I might be able to try. Maybe.
Well, if you don't mind spending the day there, there's something I can do for them that, just in case the protection, whatever, ran out with Daphne's death, might be able to help them along a little bit. So I'll meet up with you later. And it's going to take me pretty much all day.
Do you need any help?
No, unless you want to stand out in the field sweating in the sun while I chant words you don't understand.
Not really my idea of fun.
I didn't think so. I'll be out in the fields.
So we have Ezekiel who's going to the fields to do some druid stuff. We have some people going to the pillar. Is everyone doing that, or is there anyone else doing something?
I think for now, Ball will go to the pillar. He won't spend the whole day there if it ends up coming up to that. But I guess we'll see what happens.
Sure. Okay. Anyone else? So we'll say, is everyone going to the pillar itself for Ezekiel to start?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Ezekiel, you go into the field casting something, perhaps?
Yes. I'm gonna first take out the withered bloom heart and place it. I want to get kind of the most concentrated of all of the farms, however much, with plant growth. If I cast it over 8 hours, all plants in a half-mile radius centered on a point yield twice the normal amount of food when harvested for 1 year. So I can boost their farming at least. But it's going to take me literally just sitting here, waving my arms and chanting all day.
And that will cover most of the village if you do it for 8 hours.
Yeah, so that's what I'm doing today.
Okay. All right. What does that look like as you find a central place and begin to
I think
begin
it's
the ritual?
A little bit similar to how I do Skywrite, that kind of almost dance-like ritual to channel the different energy. And I also want to make sure that the bloom heart is at the center. Maybe if I can focus some of it to help restore that as well as I go. But yeah, I'm basically airbending in the fields.
And which bloom heart?
The one that we froze.
The dying one.
Yeah, try and restore that one a little bit.
Okay. So you begin doing so. After a little while, one of the farmers comes over and gives you a straw hat, a wide-brimmed hat, just to keep your face out of the sun to help you. They place a few simple cups of water nearby in case you need it. They otherwise leave you alone and let you do your thing as you begin your dance in the wind. Jumping over to the others, you guys go just outside of town to the west, finding the pillar. You see the pillar sitting there. You see the chain still attached, as if nothing has changed.
I at least want to see if we can get those chains off.
It was the chains that were enchanted, right?
I think so.
I want to try something before we start messing with them. I don't know if this will work, but I can certainly try. And I will go over and I would like to cast Dispel Magic on the chains.
Okay. And make a ability check for me.
Yes. Fuck. I don't think an 8's gonna do it.
An 8 total? Is that with your modifier? Your
natural 2, so.
Okay. You move over to it, focusing on it. And at first it feels like you can feel the energy slipping from each link in the chain. But as you move down the chain and hit into the manacles themselves, suddenly the energy swells, pushes you out, and rides itself back up the chains. As you're going to find yourself flustered, eyes fluttering awake once more.
Yep, I don't think that's going to work. So what do we want to do with these? Just unattach them and take them with us?
Yeah, I want to take a look and see how they're attached.
Sure, looking down, it looks like it is some sort of metal nail just slammed into the sandstone.
Well, we might be able to just pry this off.
Well, we'll kind of look at Kalvyn and say, do you want to give it a try?
Sure, that's what we do.
And then I guess, Ball will somehow grab one. I don't exactly know how it looks, but Ball will try to.
I have a crowbar, so I get that out and hand it over to whoever is doing the heavy lifting, which I guess is Ball.
I think both look at her like the Ninja Turtles in Ninja Turtles 2 when April O'Neil tries to hand people plates and napkins. It's like, what's that for?
So each of y'all with 2
Deep
chains, y'all both are going to grab and pull. Each of y'all give me athletics check. Whoever takes the crowbar can get advantage.
You can use the crowbar. Or do we actually just neither of us use the crowbar?
That could be it. If you're in a challenging mood, competitive mood.
Well, I'm going to roll without the crowbar, and you can do whatever you'd like. That's a 19 for Ball.
And Kalvyn? Did
Kalvyn
die?
I also rolled a 19.
What? No way. Did you use the crowbar?
No.
Okay. So I'm just standing there holding this crowbar, shaking my head at them.
As they grab the chains, wrapping around a couple times and just look at each other, lock eyes, and then pull, and both go snap, As they dig in their heels, you can hear the straining of the metal. And after 2 seconds, both chains come loose, flying backwards, hitting into trees and dirt behind them, removing the chains, seemingly at the exact same time.
Sorry, what did you want us to do with that, Ellory? As I point at this crowbar.
Apparently nothing. And I put it away and kind of sulk a little bit.
Great, so now what?
It was your plan. What now?
What do we want to do with these chains? I don't particularly want to keep them, but I don't want to leave them just sitting here.
Well, we could take them to Clyde's house, and we can make like a haunted house out of them, kind of use them as decorations.
That seems incredibly tactless to go to a dead man's house and turn it into an attraction.
Tasteful, I like it.
I don't know, but...
Tactless and tasteful, that's Kalvyn.
Yeah.
I do agree that they should not be around here, at least not usable at this location anymore.
Well, if I don't want to go anywhere or do anything for the rest of today, I can try it again. Use a bit more power.
I would not object to that.
Alright. By other 3rd level spell, I'm going to try it one more time.
Okay. Give me another ability check.
Fuck me. There we go. That's a 19.
Okay. So this time you push down link by link on the now removed chains. And when you get to the manacles, you're expecting the surge, and it comes, but this time you hold, and you're holding for a few seconds against this weight before you're able to kind of, your will and the will of Ayinell be able to stand against it, and then you push back, one chain down. You do the same to the other, slowly working down, bearing against the surge, and then removing it. And now you have 2 silvered chains, seemingly unenchanted.
That's the biggest magic I can do for the rest of the day, but it's done.
Good. Let's get back to the town.
You guys move back to the town, who's still farming. You see Ezekiel near the center-ish of the village, doing a strange wind dance around a bloom heart.
Ellory pauses to watch a little bit.
Kalvyn was rocking right behind her and didn't know she was going to stop and just kind of bumps, almost bulldozer over her.
Ow, Kalvyn!
Oh, sorry. What are we stopping? What's going on?
Just watching the show.
Ooh, there's a show?
What is he doing?
Something that's going to help the town, apparently.
Alright.
So do you guys just kind of hang out for the rest of the day as Ezekiel is working on his wind dance magic?
Actually wouldn't mind talking to some of the townsfolk and getting some more information about how Clyde died.
Me too.
Sure. You'll ask around and you hear the story. Not but the night after y'all left, Indigo, his pet fox dog, suddenly turned on him in their house, ripped his throat out, and then disappeared. They sent hunters trying to find Indigo, but were unsuccessful. They buried him beneath the apple tree, had a small funeral. They said he was 107, so despite the gruesomeness of his death, he had lived a good life up until that point.
While we're doing this, I'd like to show a few people the sketch that I made and see if the face seems familiar to anyone.
Make an investigation check.
I'm so good at these.
That's the best rolls to make.
It's a 9.
A 9, some of them kind of squint and are like, maybe someone that came through, but no one really knows that person definitively.
Okay.
A few said maybe a traveler that came through, but no one really knows specifically.
Ball will go give Ezekiel some company. Not interrupting or interfering, just kind of hanging out and watching.
Okay. You do so. And eventually the hours kind of drag on with the sun finally reaching its zenith overhead, though it is covered by ever-darkening clouds that roll with swift winds from the north. The air is getting heavier. You can tell a storm is coming. The day drags on as the storm begins to roll from the north. Ezekiel, you're straining and wind dancing, and finally the 8 hours are beginning to culminate and come to an end. How does the end of this ritual look like?
I think the dancing sort of stops, and I'll just kneel on the ground in prayer, hands on the earth, and just say, Seema's blessing upon this land. And then I'll promptly collapse over to my side for dancing for 8 hours, and just kind of lay, sort of exhausted, but giddy from magic I've never been able to cast before, suddenly working.
Ezekiel, give me a wisdom check. Just a straight wisdom.
Wisdom is 20.
Okay. So as you collapse onto the ground, eyes closed, kind of breathing in after this long day of channeling the power and the spirits of nature, you feel something on your back, and you kind of look to the side and you see grasses kind of pushing their way up the dirt-ish trails that serve as the roads in Haamel. You can see the roots of nearby trees and plants grow ever so slightly. And you read, in something you haven't read in a long time, read upon these roots and their growth in a similar dance as to how you performed their thanks for your work and for the life you've given them.
Yeah, and I'll just go find the others, and apparently some beef stew. And, yeah, I'm done.
Okay. So you're offered the barn if you want to stay at the Fox Barn. Once more, you can stay there. You can stay outside of town, or Zana has made a small camp just outside of Haamel where she's been staying. If you wanted to spend the night, otherwise you can leave or whatever you want. You're now gathered back once more.
So back on the road in the morning?
Yep, I don't think we need to stay here any longer.
Is there a party in the barn tonight?
Literally every night forever. There's always a party in the barn.
That's where Amsen is tonight. Last night in town. Might as well have fun.
Yeah, I think I'll go along with them.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
Ezekiel is sleeping.
Okay. So those of you that go to the barn, you are free to drink. They will give you free of charge alcohol and food, dancing, listening to music. As whoever that didn't go are free to rest and do whatever else you wanted to do. As the night drags on, eventually...
I would like to find Amsen at some point at the dance.
Sure.
Hey, so you're good at this sort of thing?
I would like to think myself as such, yes.
Yeah, I'm not. Kind of embarrassing, but could you show me how to do this, how to dance?
Amsen will smile and nod and say, all right, here is how you dance. And he'll start off with something really basic. It's like, here's where you hold your hands. This is how you step side to side, follow along. It's a pattern, etc., etc.
Both of y'all give me performance checks.
Oh, God. That's about right. I think if I'm adding modifiers to my natural one, that makes it a 0.
I'm gonna use luck because I also rolled a natural one.
I just stepped right on your feet and tripped us.
And that's changed to natural 20.
Amazing. Okay. So at some point you're teaching these basic steps, and at some point Vesper slams her foot on yours, and you'll both begin to tumble. But with your lucky, charismatic, performing, dancing self, Amsen, you twist, turn, and use the momentum to spin her in a circle. The whole crowd claps as you recover from crashing into the bar to a perfect pirouetting, I don't know, dance moves, but you do something really cool. And you probably lean her, do the whole lean thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally dip her.
Everyone claps. Yeah, so you all have a little dance session.
2 left feet, see?
But otherwise, the night pushes on. Y'all drink to whatever content and inebriated state you would wish to, as others may rest. Eventually, the night will find you, and the morning will as well.
What's the status of the storm at this point?
Looking out, it looks like the clouds are dark and they are moving quickly southward. Though the rings must be much larger than you anticipated. Because if it was a smaller thunderstorm, it would have been here by now. So whatever outer rings of dark clouds, they are thick, and so whatever storm is beyond them must be heavy and large.
So, I'm gonna leave the party a little bit early, maybe right after watching Amsen and Vesper's dance display. I'm gonna go outside and just spend a little bit of time watching the storm and praying to Voltimeri. Kind of just, since I'm not very experienced with this whole prayer thing, I think I'm just gonna kind of talk to her like I'm telling her about my day and telling her about how things are going and that sort of thing. Just kind of like having a weird, one-sided conversation.
Okay. Give me a wisdom check, just straight wisdom, as you kind of stand out watching the storm begin to roll in from the distant north.
19.
Okay. At some point during this one-sided conversation, you ask something sort of absent-mindedly, sort of entering into that state of flow, not really thinking about exactly what you're saying, but saying it all the same. And at some point after you say something and there's a moment of silence, you hear as thunder rumbles and roars across the sky, seemingly in answer to whatever you asked, though you, for some reason, can't recall what it was. The sound sounded more like a voice than any thunder you've ever heard, though you can't make out any of the words.
Yes, I think after that, I slow down a little bit, and I think a little bit more about what I'm saying. And after I've run out of things to say, I just stand out there for a little while longer before I go to find sleep.
Sure. Okay. Anything else as y'all begin to find your respective sleeping places and before you wake up in the morning? Okay. So morning does come. The sun rises. The farmers are somehow already up and at it. They must not experience hangovers, but they are up farming as the sun is rolling in through the barn windows. Did y'all camp in the barn or outside the city? Or outside the village, I should say.
I think Paul would find somewhere outside the village.
Okay. Yeah, Warzona had a small camp just outside the village, so you find your places and you wake up as the day greets you once more. What would you like to do?
I'm ready to set out.
I certainly am.
Just before we go, Amsen's gonna maybe purchase, if he needs to, one of those wide-brimmed straw hats that they have here in Haamel. Because why not?
They don't even ask for coin. I mean, you would guess at a market this would be like a copper.
Okay. So yeah, Amsen gets one of those, and he wears it out as we walk away.
Okay. As you'll head out of the village, and where are you heading to?
So, are we heading to what?
Birchgrove, I think.
Birchgrove next? You know, this letter we found mentioned Birchgrove.
We might be able to figure out what happened. Find this Count Adel Bastein.
Do you mind if I read the letter out loud?
Go ahead.
So it is dated the 5th day of the feast, 3E, year 557. Dear Dona, Sofie, Kassen of Red Snake, it has become clear that as the howl from the west grows louder, we must all come together for the protection of this Tiveric Empire. The Accord of Birchgrove has failed to deliver sufficient recruits for the coming storm. You will travel to this accord and aid Count Eldal Bastion in this manner. Succeed despite surrounding failure and confirm our confidence in your ability. Those above judge me, and those below take me, should I fail my duties. Heed these words, for their truth will surely become evident when you deliver where others faltered. Signed in the name of our Golden Moon Duchess, Vidum, Count Wilhelm Vidum of Andera.
It's weird. This letter is dated from a really long time ago, but it's talking about recruits the same way that Daphne was talking about soldiers for some kind of war.
The howl from the west, the wolves of Western.
Could be.
They all sort of had a wolf thing going on. But that is a long time ago.
Are there any, since I'm from this continent, any of the, like the Taveric Empire or the Accord, do they strike any familiarity with me?
They might. I'm gonna have you roll a check, but how familiar would Ezekiel be with like courts and kingdoms and stuff?
When he was younger, he would have had at least some knowledge, because it's only the last decade or so I think he's been in the woods. So
okay, so go roll me a history check. We'll say, and we'll see what you recall from those early years.
Okay, great. We know he was not a studious person. 5.
Let's see. You know it's pronounced Tyveric because you had your knuckles swatted when you pronounced it incorrectly. You know Andera is a city. It is the seat of power for whatever kingdom or empire or whatever it is. You don't recall much else.
I don't really know much about it, but why are y'all talking about it like it's an ancient letter? This is this year.
557?
Yes. Why
Uh,
are y'all looking at me like I'm crazy? What year do you think it is?
Boy, howdy, I wish I could remember.
For the rest of you, it's
627.
627.
Are we using different calendars or something?
That could be it.
I don't know.
I show him the date at the top of the letter. Third era, year 627 is our date.
Yeah, that's only a couple weeks or months ago. No, not 627, 557. At least it was when I left. I don't think my boat ride was that long.
Cool, metagaming pigeon. What is Meli's reaction to this?
Great. I'll have her roll
Miss Whiteguard.
check. I'm not going to do her accent. I can't sound as sweet as her. But she does explain that there are different calendars. Being from Whiteguard, she made the adjustment when she came over to Severwind. The difference that she goes into is sort of a diatribe of history, where there was a mantle break in the Pantheon at some date when the mantle was broken, some date when the mantle was restored. So that accounts for the difference in years. So
Okay.
Whiteguard and a lot of the Ayinell go by when the mantle was restored, when Wolfrath ascended to become a god of war, where the others date it when the mantle was broken.
Because I was afraid something really weird was going on for a second there.
Well, you learn something new every day.
Okay, so this is a current letter, which means it is a potential current problem.
Well, we could go try and figure it out.
I mean, is this really our problem, though? We kind of got sucked into it, not because we wanted to, but because Daphne was messing with Ball, and because people were attacking us on the road. But do we really want to get into this if it's not really our problem?
It's on our way.
It's worth keeping our eyes open. I don't really want to get involved in foreign politics, but if it's affecting us,
Well,
if they make it our problem.
it's talking about some sort of Accord of Birchgrove, which I imagine would be some sort of agreement to deliver sufficient recruits for the coming storm. So it sounds like there's some sort of war going on. Maybe that's with the Gossard, perhaps?
Well, as I pointed out, the Howl of the West is probably Western wanting to war with the elves.
Right. I guess my question is, do we want to deliver this to dear Dona Sofie Kassen of Red Snake, as it is addressed to?
Unless one of those hags or whatever is this person. And that's why the letter was here.
I have no idea. Either that or they captured the messenger and turned him into a Bloomheart. That's all I can think of.
We could always find Count Wilhelm and bring it back to him, say we found it. He can figure out what to do with it from there. We can get a couple answers out of him and decide if it's our problem or not.
Well, he's in Andera.
Which is along the way.
True. Either way, we're on our way to Birchgrove. It wouldn't hurt to at least look into maybe this Count Bastine.
Sure, why not?
So we all can have this discussion as you're heading north along the trail from Haamel to Birchgrove. Traveling along the way, are you going at the normal pace, fast, slow?
I think we're probably going at a normal pace now.
Yeah, not in a particular rush.
Sure. You're able to do so, moving northward. The forest changes from the willow trees that surround Haamel after the first day or so, and you begin to notice birch trees, a forest of them with the white parchment bark. You can smell the entrance of spring as flowers pollinate the air. The storm still rides overhead after the first day. The second day, you notice in the night glowing coming from the trees. Moving over to investigate, you see moss hanging from it. Every now and then, there's a pulse of reddish energy that kind of runs through the moss to its tips.
Do I know what this might be?
You can roll a nature check.
Oh boy, I'm not good at that yet. That's 18.
You've heard of this or read about it in a book. This isn't native to Severwyn, but it's called Axonus moss. And there's sort of an electrical pulse that comes from the moss. There are no known alchemical traits associated with it, but people have tried to use it. They just haven't figured out how.
I'll take a bit in a bottle.
Sure. Okay. It shocks you a little bit as you take it. Not painfully so, but just a bit of tingling. As the second day passes, you begin to notice the clouds darkening overhead. The wind is now rushing by you, billowing out your coats and clothes. And you can kind of hear the thunder roaring in about halfway through the second day. The storm is now upon you. It will be dropping probably tonight.
Is there anywhere we can find with good shelter to camp?
You can try with a survival check.
Ezekiel, can you find us somewhere with good cover to camp?
Sure, I can do that.
And roll that survival check at disadvantage.
If I help him, can he get a straight roll?
Do you have survival?
I rolled a natural one.
Yay.
Okay. So you come off the trail, enter into the woods, and within a few moments, Ezekiel, it's your choice whether to tell them or not, but you quickly kind of get turned around. You notice as you get closer to the birch groves, the birch trees, the parchment bark that surrounds it is very slowly rotating, turning, twisting, making it hard to remember which direction you were facing, disorienting you slightly. Moving into the forest, you get off the trail and are able to find patches where it's thicker or thinner, but you don't find anything solid, like a cave or anything like that would work. You find a pool of water, a small pond, but nothing that could be protective.
Sorry, I haven't had any luck. Let me see.
I might have something. So, Amsen is going to search through his robe of useful items and take out the tiny hut scroll that he has.
We do have a tent, which is something.
In the background, you see Ball, lugging it away.
I mean, we probably could have attached it to the horse.
I have this, if we need it. This rolled piece of parchment that I conjured off of my robe.
What does it do exactly?
Well, it can provide shelter for us for a night.
Well, we do have a tent.
Let's stick with the tent for now and save that scroll for if it gets really bad.
Alright, I will take the scroll that I conjured and stuff it into wherever I have the other scrolls.
Okay. You do so. As you can tell now, the storm will be upon you within minutes. The rain is starting to... You can hear as the thunder is coming in. Every now and then, crack of lightning. You probably have 5 minutes to set this tent up. Whoever's doing it, give me a dexterity check to kind of lead it. You can roll with advantage because I assume the group is helping to try and do this quickly.
Do you want me to do it, or?
Sure.
I'll go. Okay. Not as great as I was hoping. 13.
13? Okay. So you began to put in the post and try to stretch the tent across. The tent is built to weather light winds of the coast and not a heavy storm, and the storm hits as the top of the tent goes flying and slamming into a tree nearby. One of you rushes over and grabs it and pulls it back over as you're trying to tilt the post and try to brace it against the wind. But the storm is now upon you. Give me one more dexterity check, this time a straight roll, as the wind is now making it very difficult to put this down.
That's much better. That's 21.
21, okay. So you're all able to sort of brace the post, finding a couple large trees to try to break the wind as best as you can, tilting the post somewhat and using the tent draped over in such a way as to cut the wind. You're not going to be completely dry, but you're going to be able to break most of the wind and most of the heavy waters. There will be a bit of sprinkle that kind of gets wet some of your feet, but you're able to find some sort of shelter in the storm. The rain slams down nearly sideways with the thunder rolling overhead and the occasional lightning strike slamming into trees. You notice the moss that hangs from the birch trees are now glowing and pulsing more rapidly with their red lightning as the night falls and the storm comes.
Great.
Any conversation you find yourselves having to yell just to hear it, with how loud this storm is, with how loud the wind and rain is as it pelts the tent. A couple hours go by and it doesn't seem to let up. Still, the rain and storm continue. You try to find his rest as best you can. Everyone give me a Constitution check, we'll say, as you're trying to get a rest in the storm.
14.
7.
15.
21.
4.
11.
So Vesper, Amsen, and Kalvyn, you find yourselves unable to get a solid night's rest. You're tossing and turning. The rest of you don't have a great rest, but you're able to get enough sleep for the morning, be able to feel recovered. The rest of you, as the morning comes, the storm has passed, but you've got no sleep, and you gain 1 level of exhaustion. The rain is still coming down, but it's trickling now, as the storm and thunder are continuing southward.
Well, that was kind of fun.
I look over you just totally sleep deprived and like...
Amsen has dark circles around his eyes, almost as dark as Vesper's.
Whoever's leading this next continuation of the trip, give me a survival check.
I got it. Let's see if I fail again. Another natural 1. Oh my god. So 8.
Okay. So continuing through, you eventually do find yourself back on the trail, continuing along the trail. Yeah, you continue along the trail. Nothing seems to stop you or impede you or get in your way. You do notice on the 6th day, you should be arriving soon. You notice something in the road up ahead, maybe about 120 feet out. The sky is somewhat clear, the storm passing. Large clouds still roll overhead. You see what looks like a lump in the road. You're not sure what it is from this distance. You could approach.
I will continue forward unless someone tells me to stop.
Do you want me to take a look at it first?
I mean, we're on a road. I don't know how you're going to sneak up on it, but sure.
Well, I don't know.
I don't think we should let... maybe one of us bigger, more resilient folk should approach first.
Well, there's not a bridge for me to get pulled off of this time.
So you're trying to tempt fate, is what you're trying to say. Is like, let's see what new kind of crazy crap I can get into. There's no bridges.
I'm walking up to it, by the
Go
way.
ahead.
Well, goddamn. Ugh.
I'll follow Vesper.
All right, so it sounds like y'all all basically walk forward. Getting closer, you see it is something furry, large and long, laying on the road. You can see as you approach, there is blood dried on the ground, and on it has several wounds. Getting closer, you can see it has legs, large and long. You can see it has limbs that would hang near its knees. You see a creature, humanoid-like creature, covered in fur. has a heavy beard on one side. It's wearing this piecemeal branded iron armor. There's a broken spear nearby and slash marks upon the corpse. You recognize this to be a bugbear. You've heard tales of this creature, though some of you may have never seen him before.
Is it alive?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be moving or breathing.
Great. This is one of those things you warned us about, Ezekiel?
Yes, I think so. I haven't had too many demons with them. They usually hunt in packs, I think, or war in packs. We just be on guard, I think. Can I actually verify if it is alive or dead?
Yeah, give me a medicine check.
That was what I meant by...
if Vesper is reaching towards it, then I will, because I don't know nothing.
Okay, so you begin to reach out, but then see Vesper, the expert.
18.
No pulse. The wounds it sustained, and judging by the amount of blood on the ground, heavy blood loss. With an 18, with the amount of blood on the ground, there's no way all of this blood is from this one creature, unless it was completely drained. You look up, and you see standing before you someone in black fur, long cloak, open-chested. You can see what looks like pattern scars upon the chest, forming a necklace around its throat. You see pale, nearly ivory skin, eyes clouded over in a shimmering yellow color, black hair, dreadlocks that flow down to its back, carrying in its hand a long glaive standing before you, nearly Ezekiel's height.
Does it kind of look celestial, kind of like those, I can't remember the name of the town, but where they had those people they were fighting against?
From the descriptions, it sounds perhaps, yes.
Is it one of those from the town that they were fighting against? The town which name I do not remember.
Well, he's standing right in front of us. Perhaps you could ask him.
You all hear a shift. Looking around, you see 7 more of these individuals moving out of bushes behind trees, weapons drawn. None are closer than 15 feet. The closest one, standing in the center, who cleared his throat, takes a few steps forward, speaking in Celestial. This one is mine. And begins to step forward towards the body.
I look at Ezekiel.
Everybody back up from the corpse. Of course.
Definitely do so.
And I will respond in Celestial, of course. Kill is earned, and therefore yours. We don't want any trouble.
He flips the bugbear open, snatches a necklace from its chest. You see the bugbear has a fairly large beard, nearly dwarven in nature with how thick it is, but he pulls a necklace from its chest, looking it over. You can see now, with how close this one is, there's still blood running down the blade of the glaive, down the shaft and upon the muscular arm and hands, dripping onto the ground still. You can see splatters where he was clearly in a fight. There's a wound on his left shoulder as well. Snatches the necklace, looks up at you, takes a step forward over the body towards you, Ezekiel. Where are you from?
Not where you're from, friend.
Who do you fight for?
I fight for this world, and all of the spirits that it contains.
A name? Who paid you?
Well, I do have some coin. No one is paying me. I am a free agent.
Bondless. Fine. He looks at the others that are kind of surrounding you behind you. Leave them. They are of no concern. As the others begin to kind of shift, flanking you, and then move over, shifting to his side.
Have a nice day.
You can hear, as they begin to turn, a few stand there and just make sure you don't step forward. As a few others move into the nearby woods. You can hear clanking as you look over and you see bodies you didn't notice, covered in fur, a number of them. It's hard to tell from your angle as two of these Gaussian, as you're guessing they are kind of blocking your path as they loot the remaining bodies. Unless someone intervenes, about 15 minutes go by, they finish looting, and then they head down the trail for about 50 feet before diverting into the tree line, disappearing from sight.
Well, I'm glad we're not fighting them.
That was awkward.
Yeah, he was incredibly arrogant. I don't understand.
You don't understand arrogance?
Kalvyn, don't start.
Whatever do you mean?
So I can kind of see why the people in White Guard would, at a glance, think that you were one of them.
Yeah, there are certain similarities. I'm curious about these bonds that it said he had.
What language was that?
Oh, Celestial. Formerly mentioned voice in my head taught it to me.
It didn't quite sound like the one that the lady on the boat was speaking.
It was a little less flowery than hers. Hers was older. I didn't even understand some of it.
Maybe we should keep going.
As you guys push forward down the trail, not too much further, you see where they were looting the bodies, and there's maybe 9, 10, just at a glance, of these bugbears, cut up, killed, wounded, blood drained. You don't see any body of any Gaussian, but you continue forth.
We should be on the lookout for ambush if there are more of these bugbears around.
Definitely.
Y'all give me a perception check. Moving down the trail.
No, fucking disadvantage. Nope.
Oh, and that's right. Exhaustion people have disadvantage on checks.
Yeah, I rerolled that medicine check too, and I've rolled higher, so we're good.
Okay.
But I just rolled a natural one.
So I heard 10, an 18, 13, 5. Kalvyn?
Can I just take 10?
Sure.
I'm really bad
That's
at
fine.
perception.
Okay, so that's...
Oh, a natural one.
Okay, so Ezekiel probably notices this first then. So continuing for the day, it comes cresting over noon, maybe early afternoon. Ezekiel, you notice smoke above the birch tree line up ahead. A few moments later, you hear sounds of horses clattering on cobblestone, sound of people, sounds of hammers, industry. As you enter in a quaint city, or small town of Birchgrove. You can see there's a small sign, actually, outside of town. It's much bigger than Haamel, not nearly as big as Port Gautreaux. We see this quaint village, quiet, small town that looks like it's grown and added over the years, expanded into the birch forest which surrounds it. The buildings are built under the shades of these birch groves that have been allowed to stay within the city, shading from the sun. You see, as you enter into the city, creeks kind of run through this town. Not a lot of them, but a number of them. As you see towards the center of the town, where the buildings seem to be wrapped around, a pool of water. You can see the pool of this water is clearer than you've ever seen. It's nearly silver in its nature. Around that pool, there are the larger buildings, looks like a general store of some type, a inn. Off to the north side, or the northeast side, you see an area that seems to be walled off further. The small town itself seems to be walled off, just of simple wood, but you see another area walled within the city. So it seems to be walled of a mixture of wood and stone. You can see a banner that hangs from those walls. The banner is black and white stripes with a yellow crossed stag horns. You can see beyond the walls just barely what looks like a large manor of some sort, a large building. You can see there's a well next to the clear silver pool and what looks like an orchard of some sort beyond to the north with a few farmlands beyond it. And welcome to Birchgrove. And I think that's a good time if y'all want to take a quick break and we'll pick up with y'all in Birchgrove. Yes.
Perfect moment.
Okay.
All right, so we'll come back at 9:40.
Okay.
13 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll see you then.
Next time on Back to the Story.
This looks a little familiar.
Go get the liege. One of the men runs off. What is that? Points towards the half-giant. A few moments later, you hear birds whistling. I'm in the trees. Friend, rest, food, and water. Where do you walk to?
Andera for now.
I don't. It's been stormed. It's been taken.
For part 2 of this episode of Back to the Story, you can find it on Stitcher, Google Play, Player FM, or TuneIn. If you'd like to support the show, feel free to buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/backtothestory.